Ghana's new administration, led by President John Dramani Mahama, has just 4 years to impress by delivering on their manifesto, else they risk being voted out again. I sat down with Ghana's foreign minister and discussed the country's economic recovery plan, among other issues. Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Ghanaian Foreign Minister, for making time for this conversation on One.
Pleasure. It's an honor, Grace. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. And of course, Ghana is fresh from the elections in December. I remember because I was there. And one of the key things on the manifesto of both parties, the one that was ruling and the opposition then, which is now in power, was the economy. Both had a clear plan of making economy and economic recovery in Ghana. So what steps have been made thus far by the current administration towards economic recovery in Ghana?
Well, first of all, I want to thank President Erdogan of Turkey for inviting Ghana to participate in this high-level Antalya Diplomacy Forum, and the hospitality has been great, and President Erdogan has clearly shown that he can be a good ally, a good friend of Africa, and Ghana cherishes our bilateral ties with Turkey. And President Mahama is going to work even harder to increase our trade volumes and to deepen the ties of our two countries. Having said that, we are a new government inaugurated on the 7th of January this year, and President Mahama has swung into action, embarking on reforms. Remember that he won this election largely on the economy, proposing economic reforms, addressing high unemployment, which went to an all-time high of 18.7%. And he promised that he will introduce a 24-hour economy. He will industrialize, make sure that we add value to our raw materials. Ghana is blessed with so many raw materials: cocoa, gold, bauxite, timber, and now we've discovered lithium. We also have oil and gas. Unfortunately, it's largely a raw material based economy. For many, many decades, we have only been exporting the raw materials. So these raw materials are exported cheaply, and then sometimes they come back to us either as chocolate or as jewelry, so expensive that the ordinary Ghanaian who toils to produce these raw materials, bring them out of the earth, extract them, he cannot afford the finished product. President Mahama is saying that this new government is going to change that. So already he is on the verge of establishing a second gas processing plant. In his first term, between 2013 and January 6, 2017, he established the first gas plant. And unfortunately, the 8-year period of the outgone government, they did not add to that. And so we are still flaring gas, wasting oil and gas resources. So he has initiated the processes to establish a second gas processing plant. Then we also have a major infrastructure deficit, because for the economy to take off, you need to address your infrastructure gap. So he has announced a $10 billion big push agenda to revamp our weak infrastructure. So you are going to see new bridges, new roads that will open up the country, that can help us to cut these raw materials and agricultural products from the villages. He's also talking about new hospitals, new airports.
Right.
So it's a bold economic agenda that he has put on the table,
right.
and he's already put together the teams,
right.
the cabinet, and key appointments to drive these reforms.
Okay, that's the economy. Another issue was illegal gold mining, Galamsey. I mean, what plans have been made thus far to cut that? Because again, it goes back to what you were saying about the people that toil in mining for gold and don't get the returns. I remember the story of the people that go to the mines and they're there for days and months. And again, Ghana being experts saying that Ghana is at the risk of importing water by 2030 if nothing is done about illegal gold mining. So what are the plans? What is your government doing?
So the president is cracking down on illegal gold mining. He's declared a zero tolerance against what is popularly called galamsey. which is illegal small-scale mining. They don't have licenses. They are doing it under the cover of darkness, no regulation. We understand that what is driving that is the lack of opportunity, the high unemployment at 18.7%. What the president has done is to say that, look, you can come under regulation, get a proper license, and then the government will support you to do responsible mining. So we have passed a new law that is going to establish the gold board, because we tried that with cocoa and it really worked. We have the cocoa board, which is the sole purchaser of the gold, and it supports of the cocoa, pardon me, and it supports cocoa farmers. So we have a very regulated cocoa sector. So we are replicating that in the gold sector. So the gold board is going to be the only legal entity to purchase the gold. So there are a lot of the smuggling going on, and you have all kinds of even international, collaborators, a criminal ring, a cartel that comes in. They bring in these very expensive mining equipment, and then they conspire with locals, and a lot of the gold, we don't even get the revenue that we need for national transformation. So the gold board, which we have passed, and it's a very groundbreaking legislation, and I'm so excited that as a member of parliament, I was part of those who really legislated this gold board act. And what it will also do is that it would really put gold resources back in the hands and control of Ghanaians.
Right.
And so that's what is happening. It's not going to be an easy task, because you're talking about a criminal ring, a cartel that has been doing this for many years. But the political will is there, and we are very determined to crack down, because at the end of the day, it's also an existential threat. If we don't address this illegal mining, which is destroying our environment, destroying our water bodies, destroying our climate, we will all soon perish. I call what is going on potentially mass murder.
Right.
And that is why the new government is really determined to stem the tide.
And as we wind up, I want us to talk about the three countries in the western, from the western side of Africa, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, pulling out from the ECOWAS bloc, which Ghana is part of. I want to hear what Ghana's thoughts are, and what you largely think about their pulling out of the bloc and the consequences that come with it.
No, interestingly, Ghana will be launching the ECOWAS at 50 celebrations in a few days from now, on the 22nd of this month. And as founding fathers of ECOWAS, we were there in 1975 when it was formed with a lot of promise. We take the view that it is really unfortunate and regretful that these three countries have broken away, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. But if you have observed, President Mahama has adopted a pragmatic approach. So he's engaged in a lot of shuttle diplomacy. He's gone to those countries, he's met the heads of state, and he's in high negotiations with them. They are beginning to take a middle ground where they are saying that if ECOWAS recognizes their bloc, the AES bloc, then they can consider returning to ECOWAS as a bloc, not as individual countries. And I think that
they have an alliance themselves, the
yes. So
states.
they want ECOWAS to recognize the alliance, and so that alliance can deal with ECOWAS on those terms. And I think that it's not too much to us, looking at the fact that the threats that they face are threats that affect all of us. We are talking about violent extremists, we are talking about terrorists, transnational
Especially
crime,
in the Sahel,
and these are, very, very grave matters. If we don't contain the terrorism, we are the closest neighbor. Ghana, Burkina Faso, we share an artificial border. It could spiral into our country and totally destabilize our country. So the consequences are dire, and we cannot allow, these three countries to just be on their own. Remember that we already have ties which, like ethnic ties, cultural ties, traditional ties, that you cannot separate.
Indeed.
So these artificial borders did not separate us. So we are interlinked,
yes,
and our destinies are intertwined. So it is a pragmatic approach President Mahama has adopted, and I think that from the conversations, the ECOWAS chairman, President Tinubu of Nigeria, has commended President Mahama. President Ouattara has commended him for that approach. And we are going to continue to engage, to serve as a bridge between the AES countries and ECOWAS so that we can form another partnership and look forward. But most importantly, we want to collaborate at the military level, a defense cooperation that will defeat the terrorists, neutralize them, and make sure that there is stability and peace on the sub-region.
Indeed, and a great place to end it. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Ghana. Thank you very much for your time and contribution.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.